I didn't notice the empty chair at first. That's the thing about being the kind of person who's always adjusting, always accommodating. You stop noticing what's missing. You notice what needs fixing instead. A spilled drink, a crying child, an awkward silence that needs smoothing over with a joke. The restaurant was expensive. The kind of place where the chairs were heavy and the menus didn't have prices, just descriptions written like poetry. My sister, Alina, had chosen it. Of course she had. She always did, without asking, without checking if it worked for everyone. Her kids were already digging into their plates, knives slicing through steaks so thick they barely fit between the prongs of their forks. Dessert menu sat open beside them, as if the meal wasn't already excessive enough. My son, Adam, sat quietly beside me. He was 10, polite. Too polite for his age, some people said. I knew better. Politeness had been survival for him. You learn early how to take up less space when the room makes it clear you're not meant to fill it. The waiter came, smiling wide, professional. "Is everyone set?" he asked. Alina nodded. "Yes, we're good." The waiter glanced at Adam, then at his notepad. "And for the young man?" Before I could speak, Alina waved a hand dismissively. "We didn't order for your son," she said, pushing a bread basket toward Adam like it was a consolation prize. "He can have some bread." The words landed softly, almost casually, but they echoed. My father chuckled, the way he always did when he thought someone was being practical. "You should have packed him something," he added, like this was a picnic and not a restaurant where plates cost more than my weekly groceries. Adam looked at the basket, then at me. He didn't say anything. He never did. I smiled. "Noted," I said. The smile stayed on my face long after the conversation moved on, long after the waiter walked away, long after my sister began talking about her latest renovation project, the third one this year. Inside, something old shifted. I'd spent most of my adult life cleaning up after Alina's messes. Not just the obvious ones, the unpaid loans, the credit cards she maxed out in my name when she just needed help for a month. Not just the emotional ones, the late-night calls when her marriage was falling apart, the weeks she stayed at my place while I paid rent alone, but the invisible ones, the expectations, the unspoken rules, the way the family orbit always bent around her gravity. Alina was the golden child. She had always been. Loud, confident, demanding. She failed spectacularly and was forgiven instantly. I succeeded quietly and was expected to keep succeeding without acknowledgement. I was the fixer, the backup plan, the strong one. And Adam was learning what that meant. When the waiter returned with refills, I stood up. Not dramatically, not angrily, just deliberately. "I want to say something," I said, my voice calm, steady. The table went quiet. Forks paused mid-air. My father frowned slightly, like I'd interrupted a program he'd been enjoying. "I've spent most of my adult life cleaning up after my sister's messes. Financial ones, emotional ones, situations that everyone else walked away from because it was too much." Alina laughed nervously. "Oh my God, are we really doing this here?" "Yes," I said gently. "Here feels appropriate." I looked around the table, at the plates overflowing with food, at the desserts already being debated, at the bread basket sitting in front of my son like an afterthought. I've covered rent, I've paid debts, I've babysat, counseled, mediated. I've been told to be patient, to be understanding, to be the bigger person. My mother cleared her throat. "This isn't the time." "I think it is," I said. Adam's small hand found mine under the table. "I've never once complained, not because it didn't hurt, but because I believed family meant we all mattered." I turned to Alina. "Tonight, you showed my son that he doesn't." Her face hardened instantly. "That's not fair." "It is," I said. You ordered $100 steaks for your children. You ordered dessert before the plates even arrived. And you decided, without asking, that my child would eat bread. My father sighed. You're being sensitive. I smiled again. Same smile, different meaning. Maybe, or maybe I'm finally paying attention. I reached for my wallet. Wait, my mother said. What are you doing? I'm paying, I replied. Alina scoffed. For what? You didn't even order. I'm paying for my son and me, and then we're leaving. The waiter came confused. I'll have the check for the bread and the drinks, I said. He hesitated. Ma'am, that's enough, I finished.
Outside, the night air felt different. Lighter, like I'd stepped out of a room I hadn't realized was suffocating me. Adam looked up at me. Did I do something wrong? He asked. That question broke something in me. No, I said quickly, crouching to his level. You did nothing wrong, ever. But Aunt Alina, sometimes, I said, choosing my words carefully, grown-ups forget to be kind. That's not your fault. He nodded slowly, processing. Are we getting food? He asked. I laughed, a real laugh this time. Yes, I said, we're getting food. We went somewhere simple, a small diner with cracked vinyl seats and a menu that smelled like grease and comfort. Adam ordered pancakes and fries. I ordered coffee and watched him eat like he'd been holding his hunger in all evening. As he talked about school and his favorite video game, I realized something important. This wasn't about one meal. It never was. It was about the 1,000 small moments where I'd stayed silent, where I'd taught my son, without meaning to, that being overlooked was normal, that loving people who hurt you was the same as loyalty, that dignity was optional. I stirred my coffee and made a quiet promise. No more empty chairs. No more bread baskets where meals should be. No more noted without action. That night, my phone buzzed non-stop. Alina's messages came first. You embarrassed me. Dad is furious. You always do this. Play the victim. Then my mother. You could have handled that privately. Family doesn't air dirty laundry. Finally, my father. Call me. We need to talk about your attitude. I turned the phone face down. Adam was asleep on the couch, a pancake container still on the table. I covered him with a blanket and sat there, listening to his breathing. For the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt clear. And clarity, I was learning, was far more dangerous to people who benefited from your silence.
The silence didn't last. It never does when you stop playing your assigned role. By morning, the family group chat was alive again, buzzing like a hornet's nest I'd foolishly stepped into. Messages stacked on top of each other, none asking how Adam was, none acknowledging what had happened. Just reactions. You overreacted. That restaurant was expensive. Alina didn't mean it like that. You've always been sensitive. I stared at the screen while Adam brushed his teeth in the bathroom, humming softly. He was lighter this morning. I could see it in the way his shoulders weren't hunched, in the way he didn't apologize for existing. And suddenly, all those messages felt small. My phone rang. Dad. I let it ring out. It rang again, then again. Finally, I answered. What? I said, not rude, not soft, neutral. You embarrassed the family, he said, immediately, skipping greetings, in public. I leaned back against the kitchen counter. You embarrassed my son. That's dramatic, he snapped. He had bread. He wasn't starving. There it was, the minimizing, the math of emotions where humiliation was acceptable as long as it didn't leave bruises. It wasn't about food, I said. Everything doesn't have to be a statement, Dad replied. Alina has expenses. You know how she is. Yes, I said quietly. I do. He sighed, like I was the difficult one. She's under a lot of stress. You should apologize. I almost laughed. Dad, I said, has she apologized to me? To Adam? A pause. Then, defensively, she feels attacked. I closed my eyes. She made a choice, I said, and so did I. You're tearing this family apart, he said. That line used to work. It didn't anymore. No, I replied. I just stopped holding it together by myself. I hung up.
Alina showed up 3 days later. No warning, no call. She stood on my doorstep in oversized sunglasses, arms crossed, irritation practically vibrating off her. "We need to talk," she said. Adam froze behind me. "Go finish your homework," I told him gently. "But I'll call you if I need you." He hesitated, then nodded and disappeared into his room. Alina stepped inside like she owned the place, glancing around with thinly veiled judgment. "This place hasn't changed," she said. "Still modest." I closed the door. "What do you want?" I asked. She scoffed. "Don't act innocent. Mom's been crying. Dad's furious. You turned a family dinner into a spectacle." "You turned my child into an afterthought," I replied. She rolled her eyes. "It was one meal." "Was it?" I asked. She hesitated. I pressed on. "Was it just one meal when you asked me to co-sign your loan and didn't pay it back? Just one moment when I watched your kids for weeks while you found yourself? Just one thing when you told everyone I was fine after my divorce so you could get sympathy instead?" Her jaw tightened. "You're keeping score," she said. "No," I said calmly. "I finally looked at the scoreboard." She laughed sharply. "You always do this. You play martyr, then act shocked when no one throws you a parade." I stepped closer. "I didn't want a parade," I said. "I wanted respect." Her voice dropped. "You don't get to judge me." "I'm not judging you. I'm setting boundaries." She stiffened. "You don't even know what that word means." "I do," I replied. "It means you don't get access to my life if you treat my child like he matters less than yours." Her sunglasses slipped as her expression changed, something flickering there. Fear, maybe, or anger dressed up as it. "You think you're better than me now?" she snapped. "No," I said. "I think I'm done being smaller so you can feel bigger." Silence filled the room. Then she smiled, not warmly. "You know," she said slowly, "Mom and Dad are rewriting their will." There it was, the real reason. "I figured you should know. Your little performance didn't help your case." I met her gaze. "If money is what keeps me silent, I've already paid too much." She stared at me, stunned. "You're unbelievable," she muttered, grabbing her bag. "Don't come crying to me when you regret this." She left without saying goodbye to Adam. I didn't stop her.
That night, Adam sat beside me on the couch. "Aunt Alina was mad," he said softly. "Yes," I admitted. "Is it because of me?" My heart cracked. "No," I said firmly. "It's because of me doing my job." "What job?" "Protecting you." He nodded slowly. "I liked the diner better." I smiled. "Me too." The pressure escalated. Family gatherings happened without me. Photos were posted, smiling captions about togetherness and family first. People stopped inviting me, then blamed me for being distant. My mother sent long messages about forgiveness, about how we only get one family, about how Alina was just different. Different always meant excused. One evening, I finally replied, "I'm not asking anyone to choose sides. I'm choosing my child." No response came. Weeks passed, then months. Life became quieter, healthier. I stopped loaning money, stopped mediating arguments, stopped apologizing for having limits. And something strange happened. People who only knew me when I was useful faded. But Adam thrived. He laughed louder, asked questions, took up space like it was allowed now.
One afternoon, while walking home from school, he said, "Mom?" "Yes?" "When I grow up, I won't let people treat my kids like that." I swallowed. "That's good," I said. "That's very good." Then came the call I didn't expect. From my mother. Her voice sounded tired, older. "Can we meet?" she asked. "Just us." I hesitated, then agreed. Because sometimes healing doesn't come with apologies. Sometimes it comes with truth.
I chose a cafe near the park for my meeting with my mother. Neutral ground. Somewhere without old furniture or family photographs staring at us, silently asking us to behave the way we always had. She arrived early. That alone told me something was wrong. Her hair looked thinner. Her hands trembled slightly as she stirred her tea, even though she hadn't taken a sip yet. "You look tired," I said. She smiled weakly. "So do you." We sat in silence for a moment, two women bound by blood and years of unspoken agreements. "I didn't come to argue," she said finally. "I came to understand." That was new. "Then ask," I replied. She inhaled slowly. "Did we really hurt Adam?" The question landed heavier than any accusation. "Yes," I said. "You did." Her eyes filled immediately. "I never meant to." "I know," I said gently, "but intention doesn't erase impact." She nodded, staring at her cup. "Your father doesn't see it." "I know." "And Alina," her voice cracked, "she says you're punishing her." I leaned back. "I'm protecting my child." She looked up at me then, really looked, like she was seeing me not as the reliable daughter, not as the fixer, but as a mother. "I think," she whispered, "we raised you to be strong and her to be adored." The honesty startled me. "That wasn't fair to either of us, but I don't know how to fix it now." I swallowed. "Start by not asking me to bleed quietly so everyone else can stay comfortable." Tears slid down her cheeks. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "If we push Alina, she'll fall apart." "She's already falling apart," I said softly. "You've just been cushioning the fall." We sat there until her tea went cold. When we stood to leave, she touched my arm. "I don't know what will happen," she said, "but I see you now." It wasn't an apology, but it was a beginning. Alina's fall didn't announce itself with drama. It came in whispers. A friend who stopped calling, a business partner who wanted out, a late payment, then another. She called me one night, months after our last conversation. I almost didn't answer. Almost. "I need help," she said, skipping pleasantries. "What kind?" I asked. "Money," she replied. "Just short term." There it was again. "I can't," I said. Silence. "You won't?" she corrected. "No," I said. "I can't." She laughed bitterly. "After everything I've done for you?" I closed my eyes. "You mean everything I've done for you," I replied calmly. Her voice rose. "You're selfish." "Maybe," I said, "but my son sleeps peacefully now." She hung up. The next day, my father called. "Your sister is struggling," he said. "You could help." "I already did," I replied, "for years." "That's what family does," he snapped. "No," I said, "that's what enablers do." He was quiet then. Very quiet. That night, Adam asked me something that stayed with me. "Mom," he said, "why do people get mad when you stop letting them hurt you?" I smiled sadly. "Because they were benefiting from it." He nodded, like that made perfect sense.
Somewhere between the silence and the distance, something shifted. The family wasn't healed, but it was honest now. And honesty, I'd learned, was louder than favoritism, even when it spoke softly.
Time has a way of doing what confrontation can't. It reveals patterns. It exposes truth. It tires people out from pretending. My parents aged quickly after that year. Not in the dramatic sense, but in the quiet way reality settles into bones. The arguments became fewer, the excuses thinner. The energy it took to keep rescuing Alina began to outweigh the guilt of not doing it. The will conversation happened on a Sunday afternoon. No warnings, no lawyers present, just tea, silence, and decades of expectation hanging in the air. "We're updating our affairs," my father said, staring at the table. My mother nodded. "We wanted to be transparent." Alina leaned forward instantly. "So what's changing?" There it was again. Not why, not how are you, just what do I get? I said nothing. My father cleared his throat. "We're splitting things evenly." The word landed like a dropped plate. "Evenly?" Alina repeated. "That doesn't make sense." My mother's voice was calm. "It does now." Alina laughed sharply. "After everything I've done? After everything she hasn't?" I finally spoke. "I mean after everything I covered up," I said quietly. "Or after everything I cleaned up?" She turned to me furious. "You manipulated them." I shook my head. "I stopped lying." Silence stretched. My father looked older than I'd ever seen him. "We confused love with rescue," he said, "and it cost us." Alina stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly. "You're punishing me." "No," my mother said softly. "We're letting you grow up." Alina left without saying goodbye. Again.
She hit bottom faster without the net. No more bailouts. No more emergency transfers. No more someone else absorbing the consequences. Her lifestyle shrank. Friends disappeared. The admiration she lived on dried up when it stopped being funded. She blamed me. I knew she would. But something unexpected happened too. She changed. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly. Pain has a way of teaching what comfort never does. Years passed. Adam grew. Tall, thoughtful, steady. He remembered everything, not with bitterness, but with clarity. On his high school graduation day, my parents sat beside me. Alina arrived late, quieter now, simpler in her dress, her presence less demanding. Adam gave his speech. "I was raised by someone who taught me that love isn't loud," he said. "It shows up. It protects. It chooses dignity." I felt my throat close. Afterward, Alina hugged him. "Your mom is strong," she said. Adam smiled politely. She didn't have a choice. I did. And that was the difference. The final dinner happened years later. A different table, a different energy. Adam was grown now, confident, unapologetic. Plates were ordered equally. No one was overlooked. And yet there was one empty chair. My father's. He'd passed quietly the year before. As dessert arrived, Adam stood. "I want to say something," he said. My heart skipped. "When I was 10, he continued, I learned what it feels like to be invisible. And I learned what it feels like to be defended." He looked at me. "This chair," he said, nodding toward the empty one, "reminds me that silence teaches lessons too." He raised his glass. "To the people who stopped the cycle." I couldn't breathe. Later that night, I sat alone at the table. The same one where I'd once smiled and said, "Noted." Only this time, the chair beside me wasn't empty. Adam sat there. And the breadbasket? Untouched. Because everyone had been fed. Not just with food, but with respect.